Is it possible to lose weight and improve your heart health while still eating hamburgers, ramen, spaghetti? Impossible? I think not. Not if you know how to apply the 5 smart ingredient swaps. So what are the smart swaps? We'll start with number 1. Decrease your calories. And you do that by decreasing the amount of micronutrients, which includes fat, carbs, and protein. Number 2, increase protein, which will help with hunger and maintaining muscle while you're losing weight. Number 3, we want to increase fiber with our smart swaps, which will help with our heart health and with hunger. Number 4, we want to decrease sodium, cholesterol, and saturated fat. Number 5, we want to make swaps that increase nutrient density. I'm going to go through a couple of different foods and ingredients, tell you how to apply those smart swaps using the list that I just gave, and then make sure you watch to the end because I'm gonna get to dessert last. First, we'll start with burgers and sandwiches. We can swap out regular buns for either alternative like sandwich thins, which is basically bread that's sliced in half, that's really thin, or we could even substitute the bun with a keto bun. This swap will lead to fewer calories by way of decreasing carbs, and if you're using that keto bun, you'll be increasing the fiber. For our burgers and sandwiches, we can also swap out regular mayo with a low-fat mayo. This swap is going to reduce the amount of calories by decreasing the amount of fat, and you get bonus tips if you use a mayo that uses olive oil or some other type of unsaturated fat. Next, we have pizza. We could swap out a regular pizza crust with a low-carb tortilla as our crust. This swap is going to decrease the amount of calories by decreasing the amount of carbs, and if you're using a keto tortilla, that'll also increase the fiber. For our pizza, we can also swap out regular pizza sauce for a homemade pizza sauce, and this is pretty easy. All you have to do is get a blender, throw some tomatoes, some seasoning, and some vegetables, and then those vegetables can be something like kale or spinach. This sauce swap is going to decrease the amount of sodium, preservatives, and increase the nutrient density, especially if you blend in those vegetables. Moving on, everybody loves coffee. I know I do. And one thing that people oftentimes use is a flavored creamer in their coffee, but we can swap out the flavored creamer for an oat milk creamer. This swap is going to decrease the amount of calories by decreasing the carbs and the fat. In my opinion, creamer tastes delicious. I've just recently started using that and I love it. This swap is also going to decrease the amount of saturated fat and cholesterol. All right, moving on to sugar. We can swap out sugar for something like an erythritol and stevia blend. I like to use Truvia, and this swap is going to reduce the amount of carbs, and you can use it in whatever you like, wherever you normally use sugar, so like in coffee or tea, or you could even use it in your Greek yogurt. That helps with that tartness of Greek yogurt and makes it much more enjoyable. All right, moving on to pasta. We can swap out pastas like rotini or penne for a high fiber pasta. This swap, pretty obvious, is going to increase the fiber and is going to usually decrease the amount of carbs, which decreases calories. Kind of staying in that pasta realm, let's move on to ramen and spaghetti. We can swap out the normal ramen and spaghetti noodles for something like palmini noodles, which is made from hearts of palm. This swap is going to do two things. It's going to decrease carbs and increase fiber. Let's move on to burritos and tacos. We can swap out normal tortillas for a high fiber tortilla like a keto tortilla. This swap is going to decrease the amount of carbs and significantly increase the amount of fiber. So here's a pro tip for burritos. This isn't really a swap, but what you can do for burritos is just ditch the tortilla altogether and just have a burrito bowl. A pro tip for tacos that I use, me and my wife, we use all the time whenever we're ordering tacos. Normally, a restaurant, when they make tacos, they use 2 tortillas. What you can do is just tell them, use just 1 tortilla. Doing that will significantly decrease the calories by decreasing the amount of carbs. So let's move on to butter. We can swap out butter for a smart balance alternative. Doing this, you'll decrease the amount of saturated fat and maybe even decrease calories altogether. Moving on to something that I love, popcorn. We can swap out popcorn for air pop popcorn or even Rice Crisps. Both of these swaps will significantly decrease calories by decreasing the carbs. Moving on to rice, we can swap out rice for something like cauliflower rice. That swap will significantly decrease the amount of calories by decreasing the amount of carbs. Not to mention, that swap will also increase micronutrients. Let's move on to a breakfast item, something like eggs. You can swap out regular eggs for egg whites. Doing this swap will significantly decrease the saturated fat down to 0, and then also increase protein, because typically you're going to increase the amount of egg whites and replace that yolk with egg whites. In the same realm, let's use an egg sausage scramble. We can swap out the scramble for an egg white and vegetable scramble, and those vegetables can include things like bell peppers, mushrooms, whatever you like. Now this swap actually will decrease the protein because you're not using the sausage, but you'll be increasing the micronutrients and increasing the fiber with this swap. And you can even make up for the protein just by using more egg whites. All right, let's move on to a crowd favorite, pancakes. Now we can swap out regular pancake mix for a protein pancake mix. Now, good luck with that. I've been looking for a good protein pancake mix for a very long time, and I haven't really found a lot. So I just want to mention. So with this swap, typically you're going to reduce calories by decreasing the amount of carbs and obviously increasing the amount of protein. All right, moving on to smoothies. So one of my favorite smoothies is a chocolate peanut butter banana smoothie. So you can swap out the peanut butter with a peanut butter powder, like a PB2. This swap will significantly decrease the amount of fat, which decreases calories, and actually increase the amount of protein. Now, if you're making a typical fruit smoothie, then you can substitute the puree or fruit concentrate for a flavored drink mix and put that into the blender. That's going to add the flavor, that fruit flavor, but it's going to not add a ton of calories by decreasing the amount of carbs. Now, just be very careful when you're using those drink mixes. So my wife, don't tell her I said this, but sometimes she uses it and she uses a little too much, and then it can just throw off the taste altogether. So apply a little bit at a time. Moving on to barbecue sauce. I love me a good old barbecue, and you can't have barbecue food without barbecue sauce. So you can swap out regular barbecue sauce for a sugar-free barbecue sauce. This swap, pretty obvious what it's gonna do. It's gonna decrease calories by decreasing the amount of carbs and sugar. Moving on to ranch. We can swap out regular ranch dressing for something that we make. It would be a Greek yogurt dressing. And to make that, it's pretty simple. Just get fat-free, unsweetened Greek yogurt and mix in ranch seasoning packets, mix it all together, boom, you got ranch. This swap is going to significantly decrease the amount of calories by decreasing the amount of fat, and it's going to increase the amount of protein. And you can use this swap in salads. You can use it as like a dipping sauce for your vegetables like celery or carrots, or even for wings. All right, moving on to sour cream. We can substitute regular sour cream for low-fat Greek yogurt. This swap is going to significantly decrease the amount of fat, which decreases calories. And I like to use this in things that you normally use sour cream. So that could be Mexican food like tacos, burritos. It could be in chili. It could be even in baked potatoes. Moving on to salt. We can swap out salt for a salt substitute like potassium-based salt or potassium chloride. So making this swap, you're going to significantly decrease the amount of sodium. So there was a study earlier this year. It was published in the journal titled Hypertension. In 2024, the researchers recommended that the general population use regular table salt, but then substitute 25% of that with potassium chloride to help control hypertension or high blood pressure. One thing to note, that recommendation changes for people with kidney dysfunction or for people who are already supplementing with potassium. All right, so moving on to salad dressing, we can substitute regular salad dressing for Skinny Girl salad dressing. This substitute is going to typically decrease calories by decreasing the amount of carbs and maybe even fat. And I will say this swap is definitely wife approved. She loves the skinny girl dressing, so give it a try. All right, moving on, let's talk about chips. Now, I know a lot of people who love chips. One swap we can make, we can take regular chips, swap it out for baked chips. This swap is pretty easy. It's going to decrease calories by decreasing the amount of fat. All right, moving on to the dessert section. So one of my favorite healthy desserts is a parfait. What we can do is we can substitute regular parfait for a low-fat Greek yogurt-based parfait. So with this, you just take a low-fat Greek yogurt. I would recommend doing unsweetened, and you can sweeten it with that sugar swap that we talked earlier, which could be that Truvia or any other type of stevia erythritol blend. That works well. Mix that together, and then you just top it like you would any other parfait. I would do like fresh fruit, like strawberries, and if you want to put a little bit of granola on there, then that's much better than the alternative of regular parfaits. This swap is going to significantly decrease the amount of calories by decreasing the carbs and increase protein. An ingredient used in a lot of desserts is cream cheese. We can swap out cream cheese for Neufchâtel cheese. This swap is going to decrease the amount of fat and actually increase micronutrients. You can use Neufchâtel cheese to make a strawberry shortcake, or you can use it to make a dipping sauce for a different fruit like strawberries. And moving on to my favorite, chocolate. We can swap out regular chocolate for Lily's chocolate. This swap is going to significantly decrease calories by decreasing carbs. We covered a lot. Let's do a quick recap of that 5-part SMART swap checklist. Number 1, decrease calories by decreasing the macronutrients, specifically in carbs and fat. Number 2, we want to increase protein because that's going to help with hunger and with muscle retention. Number 3, we want to have swaps that increase fiber. That's going to help with hunger and with heart health. Number 4, we want to have swaps that reduce cholesterol, sodium, and saturated fat. That's going to help with heart health. Number 5, we want swaps that increase nutrient density. With that in mind, can you think of any smart swaps that I didn't mention? If so, drop them in the comments so that we can all learn. Thank you for watching.